What's up everyone, my name is Andrew Fung. Welcome back to another hands-on programming tutorial that helps you learn programming through building interesting projects like this one. So today I'm going to show you how you can build a simple tic-tac-toe with only HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. So you can see the tic-tac-toe game that we'll be building today. It will first allow users to select which icon they want to be. So I can choose player X, and then it will show that it's my turn. So I can start first, and let's choose the top left corner. And whenever it switches to another player, which is in this case the computer, it will change this tab into a nice looking animations that fills the tabs for that player. So let me do middle. So you can tell the computer is not very good because we are just simply randomly allowing the computer to pick whatever spaces they can choose. So let me just finish the game, and it shows that player X has won the game. So I've won the game, and I can just go home and it will reset itself. So I thought this neat tic-tac-toe game can be a starting point for my subscribers who may not be too familiar with or just started with their web development journey. So this can be a nice starting point for them to really understand how JavaScript and HTML works together and how they can create some animations and games on HTML. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so I have my Visual Studio Code open up, and I'm in the folder of Tic Tac Toe, which I unfortunately misspelled, but that's fine. So you can feel free to use any code editor or IDE that you want. So now we just need to create 3 files. So the first one will be index.html. The second one will be script.js. And the third one will be the style.css. So the index HTML, script.js, and also style.css. Let's go ahead and type the exclamation mark, which will give us the enter, which will give us the boilerplate HTML code for the structure of a web page. So let's rename this to be tic-tac-toe game. Okay, and inside of the head, so we can just import something which we'll be using later. So for example, when we take a look at the icons X and O, these kind of icons are not just the English letters, but we will be using a tool that is called Fav icon. So Fav icon to use their icons available for us. Link, it's not a style sheet, it is icon, which we will be referencing, and sizes to be 16 by 16. Type to be just image/png. So let me just copy and paste to Chrome so you can see this icon, which we'll be using for this part of the header image. Okay, so let's close this. Another thing that we want will be the style sheet connecting to the style.css. So let's change this, let's link this to our style.css by doing link, and then default is the style sheet. So we can do reference to be style.css. Okay, so let's put this up. Yep. And also we'll be needing the font awesome icon. So let's just do copy and paste for this line, and there we go. So the next part will be creating the select player box, so which will be this one. So we have a title, tic-tac-toe, the question prompt, and also the 2 buttons for the player to choose between X and O. Okay, so let's go to body and just do a comment, which is select player box. So we can create a div with the class name of select box. Okay, and the header will be Tic Tac Toe, and inside this will be the content, which are the select which icon you want to be, and also 2 buttons. Okay, so this will have the class name of content, enter. So another div with the title class name, select which icon you want to be, and we'll have an option div which has 2 buttons. So button button.class name will be player X, so player X, and just do the same thing for O. Okay, so that's the select player box. So let's move on to the layout of the board. So remember that we'll be using 9 tiles for the tic-tac-toe board, so we will now create that. So let's do layout / board. Let's create a div called play board. Okay, and a div called details. So details will show you the tabs between player X and Y. So remember there's a part where it shows X's turn or O's turn. So it will have 2 players, so players, and that will be a span of X turn. So the numbers or the text I will write will be X's turn, and we do the same for O turn, so O's turn. Okay, and also we need a slider to indicate which player is active, so which player is currently selecting their choices. So slider class. Okay, and after we're done with the details, we will have a area called the play area, which is essentially the board. So let's do div.class, not class, should be .play area. We will have a section and then a span. So with each tile or each box will be a span. So we can do span dot box 1, and then box 2, box 3. So that will be 1 section, which is like 1 row, and we can copy this 2 times. So box 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so that should take care of the playboard and also the layout. And when we reach the final result showing like which player has won, so we can do result here, and we have a div called the result box, and it will show you like which player has won. So we need text, so div dot one text, and also two buttons to show you how you can like go home and also replay. Yeah. So we can do div dot button. So that will show you two buttons. So button buttons. We can create the style to be margin 5 pixel. And copy this as well. And the button will write replay and also go home. And whenever we click go home, they can do on click event, which will trigger them to go back to the main index.html, restart the whole thing again. So we can do window.location.href equals to index.html. Yep. Hit save. So in terms of the CSS or the styling of this web application, we won't be going in depth into the details of how the styling works. I'll just copy and paste the CSS that I've created beforehand, and you can get this source code from my GitHub as well. So let's save this, refresh. As you can see the Tic Tac Toe, select which icon you want to be, and also X and O. So when we press on it, it doesn't do anything yet because we haven't configured the JavaScript to navigate between pages. So now we can take care of the JavaScript, and now we can just go down to the bottom of body to connect the script to our HTML. So when you go to body, we can have a script tag. The source will be script.js. And let's just test it to confirm that it works. So let's do console.log Tic Tac Toe active, save, and just go to refresh. And when we go to command option I, we should hopefully see inside the console we can see Tic Tac Toe active. So it is connected to our script.js. Okay. So let's now go ahead and specify some JavaScript variables based on the CSS classes. So let's do specify variables based on CSS classes that we defined previously in the HTML. So we can do constant select box equals document dot query selector. So I would copy this line, which we'll be using quite often. So that will be select dot select box comma. So next variables will be select button X. So we want whenever the select button X or O to be selected, that will take us to another page which shows the entire playboard. So let's do select box dot query selector and dot options dot player X. So that will find the within select box, it will find the dot option class and also dot player X. So that will only find the select button X, which is let me show you, which is this one. So inside option class and also button X class. Okay, so we do the same for O. So we can choose option and then change this to O. Define playboard as well. So playboard equals document dot query selector. That will be dot playboard. Hopefully it's correct. So we can cross-reference. Yep, so it's playboard. And the next one will be players equals document dot query selector dot players. I forgot the double quote, dot players. And also the last one will be all box document dot query selector. That will be selecting all. So query selector all, that will shows all the classes with the same CSS properties. So with the section span, if they're all span, then they're inside all boxes. So this will be an array. And after the game is finished, it will shows the result box equals document dot query selector. That will shows the dot result box class and one text. So that will shows the text that which player has won, or if it's drawn, the match is drawn. So query selector dot one text and replay button, which will resets the whole game. So query selector, it's called button, right? Replay button, yep. Should be button. Let's change this. And then to test this, we can define a function which is window.reload.onload. So whenever the window is loaded, it will trigger this action, which will take in a arrow function. So we first need to make sure that all the boxes in the board are clickable. So how we can do that? We can achieve that by setting an attribute to all the boxes inside section span. So we have to make sure that all the tiles within the playboard is clickable. So for let I equals 0, so we loop through all the boxes. I is smaller than all box dot length. So remember, all box is an array, and I plus plus. So that will be looping through all the boxes inside all box. So all box I set attribute, and we set an attribute. The first one will be the feature, which is on click. So whenever it's clicked, it will trigger a function which is called clicked box, and we pass in this to reference this. And now what we can do is to make sure whenever player X or player O is clicked, it will navigate to the playboard interface. So we can do select button X dot on click. So equals an arrow function as well. So we can do select box dot class list dot add hide. So this will eventually hide the select box and move on to the next page. So, and also play board dot class list dot add that will show instead of hide. So this will be hiding the select box and also showing the playboard. So we have to do the same thing for button O in case the user choose to be O. And yeah. So one more thing that we should add, we can assume the users to start as the icon of X. So whenever it clicks O, it will do players dot set attribute. Set an attribute which is the class, and the class name will be players active player. So this player class name will be used to identify whether the users is O or X. So you will understand this later on. And now we can simply save this and refresh and see if it shows. So player X, and we see the playboard. So whenever it's clicked, it does nothing because the tiles are mapped to a function called clicked box, which we haven't defined it yet. So we can do that now. So let's assume the player X icon to be a fave icon class. So let's do FA times. So this will be the X icon inside fave icon, and player O icon would be far circle. So this is just the class name, so you don't have to memorize it. Player sign, we assume them to be X first, and we use an if-else statement to identify, to distinguish. And we set the run bot to true, so that it will be first playing against the computer. Okay. So I assume, yep. Let's save. We can now define the clicked box function. So this clicked box function would be the user interaction with the board. So let's do function clicked box element, and first if the players dot class list dot contains the class of player, which is here, then we know that their sign is O. So we can do player sign equals to O instead of the player sign here. Okay. And element dot inner HTML equals, we will now put an icon on the tile, which we can do that by iClass equals $ player O icon, and we close the player O icon. Yep. And we close the tag with /i. So that would insert an I icon to the HTML, which is the tile. Okay. And we can do players dot class list dot remove, so we can remove the class active because the icon has been placed on the board, indicating that they have chosen their go and it's the next player's turn. And also element dot set attribute ID will be equals to the player's sign. Okay, so what this line does is that it essentially maps the player sign to the clicked box. So if the box is 1, then it's maps its ID to be the player sign, which is O here, and that will be used to identify who has won and keep track of the board, essentially. Yeah. And if this does not contains the player class, then it means that they have chosen the X icon. So we can do the same thing. So copy this line, paste it, and just change it to X icon, and also map the sign to the box. And now we can do players.class list.add active. Okay. I think I missed the closing double quote. So let's hit save, refresh, and let's go player X and refresh. It should add an icon there. So let's refresh and do O to make sure. Yep. So it works. But it should change to O's turn, so the computer's turn. So we haven't configured that part yet. We can try and determine whether some player has won the game. So we can do select winner function. So we'll define that later. And element dot style dot pointer events, set it to none. And also we do that for play board style as well. Cool. And after this, we will add some buffer time. For what, you may ask? So we have to pretend that the computer is thinking. So we can just do a quick random function, random time delay, just to make it more interactive. Yeah. So we can do math.random times 1000 at 200 dot to fixed, and we can set the timeout to this random time delay. So we can do set timeout so an empty function without a name, arrow function. So we can do bot run bot, and the time will be random time delay. So this will, the second argument will be the time needed. So let's change this to bot. Yep. And yeah, so we haven't defined bot yet. The bot function will be the computer's interaction. So we have user interaction, we also have computer interaction to the board. So we can define this now. So computer interaction with the board, that will be function bot. And so for the interaction, for the computer's interaction with the board, we have to keep track of the user's inputs to the board, and make sure that we don't insert an icon to the places where the user has already chosen. So we can first define an array. So let array equals empty array. So if run bot is if the run bot is true, then we can start running the bot. So player sign equals O. So we can first find the remaining boxes that has not been marked. So how do we do that? So we still do a for loop inside the all boxes tag. So let's copy this boxes for let I equals 0, and it's just the same for loop that we have done previously. So for length and then I plus plus. So we determine whether the box is marked by doing if all box dot I, so that box dot child element count equals to 0, then we will push it to the array. So the array will equals the remaining choices of the board. Okay, and we can now get a random box from the remaining tiles. So we can just define a random box. So let's do let random box equals array. So we can do math dot random times the array length. Can do math dot floor. So it will pick the closest integer for the closest decimal results. And if array dot length equals is larger than 0, which means that there are remaining tiles that has not been marked. That means the game is still on. So if players dot class list dot contains player, which is the same logic as the previous one that we determined whether the player chose O first. So it would do player sign equals X, and then all box remaining random box dot inner HTML equals to the X icon. So that will put in the computer's icon to the tile. Okay. Semicolon. Don't forget the semicolon. And all box random. So still that box. Set the attribute. Set the ID to be the player sign. So to mark the board as well. So it's really similar to what we have done with the user interactions. And now we can do players.class list dot add a class called active. Cool. And else, which is the same logic but with just the player sign to be O. And after this we have to select the winner as well. So check after the input of the computer, see if the computer has won. Yeah. All box random box dot style dot pointer events to be none. Okay. and playboard.style pointer events equals to auto, and the player sign equals to X. Okay, so after this we have to first understand how it looks like now. So let's save and refresh. Let's click X, and we still haven't configured the changes for whenever the player X has clicked their element, it would change to O's turn. So we can now define a few functions to help us with that. And first we have to define a function that gets the sign of a certain box. So for this, for example, for this box, when we control option I, we go ahead and click this, we can see that the ID is X. So this will be used to, we have to extract this ID to see whether so I have to extract this ID to keep track of the board. So we can use a function get ID value with a class name, and this will return us the sign, which is X or O. So document.query selector. So we can see that it has a class of box. So it should be .box with a number, which is 1. So in this case it's 1. So we have to add a class name plus class name. So if we do get ID value 1, that will return us with X in this case. So class name dot ID. Okay, and we also need a function that checks 3 tiles to see if they are the same sign. So another function, check ID sign. So that will take in value 1, value 2, value 2, value 3, and also the sign. So we can do if equals sign, then return true. True. Okay. If not, then return false. Now the juicy part will be determining the winner of the whole game based on the view. So we can check winner. We can create a function called select winner. So the winning conditions are 3 in a row. So 3 in a row in terms of a row, or 3 in a row in terms of a column, or also the axis, which is the diagonals of the board. So any check ID sign returns true, it will automatically select the winner. So whether it's 1, 2, 3 or it's 2, 4, 5, 6, etc., it will automatically end the game. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 4, 7, 2, 5, 8, 3, 6, 9, 1, 5, 9, and also 3, 5, 7, which will be the winning conditions. So if that is true, then run bot equals false. So that will end the game. Essentially, bot run bot. And then we will need to set some buffer time for for showing the winner in text. So we can do set timeout, arrow function. We can do result.box, add a class to the class list to show. Okay, and for the playboard, add a class to remove the class of show, so that hides the board, and we wait for 7 seconds, or 0.7 seconds. Okay, so this is in millisecond, and then we can do one text content. We insert the text content to be apologies, should be inner.html, because this would be a line. So player $sign player sign, a line break, has won the match or the game, exclamation mark. Okay, else, if it doesn't satisfy any of the winning conditions, then it will check if the board is full. So if the board is full, which means it doesn't satisfy any winning conditions, and also that should be a draw. So if get ID value 1 is not equal to empty, which means it has something. So we will do that for every box in the board. So let me quickly copy and paste. So if 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is not empty, which means they're full, then we can do something, change the run bot to false, so stop the bot, run bot, this line again, indentation. Also set the buffer time for showing the match has drawn. Copy and paste, and we can now change the one text content to be the match has been drawn. Has been drawn. Okay. So that should hopefully do it. So let's save. Let's go ahead and check. So player O. So player O has won the game. Okay. So when we click go home, we'll refresh, and let's do one more. When we click replay, it doesn't do anything yet, so let's configure it now. So reload page when replay button is clicked. So replay button dot onClick equals an empty function, arrow function, window dot location dot reload. Save. And let's do X this time. Okay, so replay, and it works. So that's pretty much it. Hopefully you have learned something new about HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and how you can simply use JavaScript to control and make some of the iconic games that you know, and with the CSS or the styling, it just make it look nicer and neat. And hopefully this can be a starting point for the beginners that just started web development and can build your confidence into building more complex HTML games or projects. All the source code for this project will be linked in the description, so please check it out. And if you enjoyed this tutorial, please like this video and subscribe to my channel for more awesome content upcoming. Thanks for watching, and see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.